Hey everyone, welcome to another episode from Pro Engineering. We have something interesting here. Those of you who follow my channel know that I love clones. However, this is more than a clone, this is a complete knockoff. And that's a little bit unfortunate, a lot unfortunate I should say, and we'll address that in a little bit. But for now, let's open this up. There we go. Who makes it? When I figure that out, I will let you know. What I do know is they have spelled Toyota in a very interesting way. Toyato. You know, I personally, the best part is the driver. Let's open this up and see what it's like. Part of me isn't expecting very much. A friend of mine picked this up while they were in Hong Kong and hand carried it back to me on the plane. So I got it for very, very cheap. Oh, I just realized I looked at the manual. Wow. We'll have to do a little bit of searching in here and see what this thing's all about. But anyway, nice thick manual. This is heavy for some reason. Oh. Lithium polymer Are you serious? It's got a LiPo. It's a 1500 milliamp LiPo. I suspect that it's a fairly tiny battery in one of these large plastic containers. It's a hard pack. What's this? Ooh, wall charger. And these are Tamiya wrench. Here's the remote. The remote weighs about 3 ounces. It actually feels really good. Even the plastics feel good on this remote. That's kind of a cool little... It looks really good, actually. The grip is quite nice. I swear this thing weighs nothing at all. But cosmetically, looks good. Feels nice. I wonder how all the low, maybe middle, high steering trim. So is this a 4-channel or 3-channel? I suspect it's 3-channel. What are these? Oh, it's another battery? This battery's very heavy. LiPo, and it's another LiPo. 52, what? 5200. Another one? I don't think this is supposed to come with all these batteries. Here's the actual truck. I'll take the truck out of the box in a minute and we'll put it on the desk, but I just figured everybody might want to see the truck and how it comes. This was on an airplane, so I think everybody's well aware of what baggage handlers can be capable of sometimes. But the packaging was obviously great. The bumpers aren't broken, the mirrors aren't broken. The body, wow, it really feels very good. The body's very nice. So like the new Bruiser, the cab is removable. It's chrome, which is kind of interesting. It looks like there's a little bit of, I don't want to say rash, but a little bit of rubbing from the bag on the roof of this thing. It's missing the text at the rear. It does unfortunately have a low bed or shallow bed. The interior is orange, which is cool. Let's take the chassis is powder coated, probably aluminum. It doesn't sound rattly at all. My Bruiser sounds like a bag of cans. The tires feel like, I don't know, to me they feel like my Blackfoot's tires. The metals don't feel cheap. All right, I'm gonna put this on the table and we'll take a closer look. As you can see, I've pulled my Bruiser out. I just want to stress that side by side, it's gonna be difficult to compare these two because number one, mine is an original Bruiser versus the knockoff over here, which is a copy of a re-release Bruiser. Secondly, mine has about 50 million miles on it. It is rusty, it's banged up, it's dirty, and it's worn. It's been used. I love that truck. It's a great truck, but mine, if you compare the two right now, mine looks like the cheap knockoff. I also want to refrain from calling the Bruiser on the left a knockoff because as of this moment, we do not know if this is a licensed copy of the Tamiya product or if it is a flat-out ripoff. We don't know. Most likely, it is a blatant copy of the Bruiser, but there's a lot of things that happen between companies. Who knows? At this point here, there's very little information known, so I I don't want to throw the Bruiser on the left and the company that built it under the bus until there's actual information that backs this all up. As we can see, the wheels are chrome plated. The chrome is excellent. And upon initial inspection, I noticed these little hubs, and I thought that was a brilliant addition that they had done. I didn't realize that Tamiya had done that on the 2012 Bruiser. I had assumed that this was their doing. The brush guard is just like the Bruiser's brush guard. The mounts look very similar. Mine doesn't have it, unfortunately, so I can't really compare the two. Again, it has the separate parking lights, side markers, and turn signals. The clear plastic looks quite nice. The chrome trim on these bezels look very nice as well. The mirrors, quite rigidly attached. At the rear, we do have painted taillights. They're painted reasonably well. They need additional detailing, but they're not too bad. You got the chrome license plate frame there. Shot of the inside here. It looks just like the Tamiya, except this is the first time I'm noticing that. Do you see the infotainment system? Wow. This is a way nicer. Now, I own a 1980 Toyota pickup. That is way nicer than mine. My infotainment system is just AM radio. I'm surprised there's no driver. Okay, and the chassis. This is going to be the big one. Even upon closer inspection, the frame rails look very, very nice. There's no weird deformation anywhere. The hardware all looks properly installed. Looking at these screws here, I'm not seeing any residual thread lock, so that could definitely be a concern. These are not locking nuts, so there's a good possibility that they're going to loosen over time. At the rear, again, this car is equipped with a differential. Even this electronics bin, I thought it was going to be kind of cheap looking, but it really isn't. It's pretty darn nice. Some scratching here, that's because of the body. At the rear, we do see the speed control. There do not appear to be markings on it, so I can't tell you a brand, but oftentimes these contract manufacturers in China aren't going to brand their products. What is neat is it does come with Dean's connectors, which is very, very nice. These are actually what I run on all my cars. The receiver is absolutely microscopic. It is a 4-channel. It's very nice and tidy in there. I am quite curious what is interchangeable. I suspect a good percentage of chassis components, these components back here, certainly not the driveline. I think a lot of these parts like the transmission, this bell housing here, I don't think those are going to be interchangeable. So these links are beautifully secured. There's a really, really solid feel on the chassis, on the suspension. To me, it needs to have a leaf removed. So these are all lock nuts over here. That's very, very good. The drive shafts, they have a little bit of play in the universal, but they do not at the output shaft. That is a ball bearing. So that is bearing. That's very, very nice. The skid plate looks good. Transmission case is very, very nicely done. Again, I do suspect that these parts are plastic. I wish I could get a look at them, but I don't think I can easily. Please don't judge my 1,000-year-old Bruiser. It's next on the list of cars to be cleaned up. We can see that the gearbox here is comprised of 5 sections, and it has the inspection holes here, which I've got some new plugs for, but this definitely has a fully metal gearbox, as well as a much, much larger motor here that we can see. But in terms of how the frame rails are designed, where all the connection points are for all the nuts and bolts, everything looks right on. I mean, I see very little that tells me if I need a part for this, I can't steal it from this truck or vice versa. Again, the battery areas are different, but this truck is intended to have the big 4,000 milliamp Tamiya NiCad battery pack. Both battery boxes look exactly the same, as do the undercarriage. They're quite similar. These drive shafts are aftermarket, and please don't look closely at this. It's awful. What I'm curious now is how this truck runs, so let's put a battery pack in it and see if all of this positivity has a gray cloud. It takes 4 AA batteries. I threw them in there. Let's turn this. Oh, it's on. It was already in the on position. So there's the switch, off, on. Again, it's a very handsome radio, and with some batteries it feels a little better. All right, feels good. It's no worse than a stock servo. Definitely one of those things that you're going to want to replace. The linkage looks just like the Tamiya linkage. This part here has got a mountain of play And looking at my Bruiser, you know, my Bruiser doesn't have as much play on this arm. So that's, I don't know if there's some adjustment, if it's loose, but there's definitely a lot of play here on this arm. Okay, let's lift it up. And so it's in low right now. If I know my Bruisers, which I don't, low means four-wheel drive. The middle position here should be rear-wheel drive low, and high would be rear-wheel drive high. So I'll leave it in low and give it some throttle. Oh my gosh. This thing sounds like a sewing machine. Okay, I'm sorry. I know this is a clone. It sounds unbelievable. It is so quiet. It is so smooth. Again, I've got a 1,000-year-old utterly ruined Bruiser, so maybe that's a part of it. But even my high lift, brand spanking new, didn't sound like this. Wow. Okay, let's drop her in the middle. I'm gonna lift this up here. So we should see some movement right there. Okay. Okay, now we'll go forward again. And lastly, third gear. And this should be ridiculously fast. Second gear. It is so quiet. This also may be a standard brush motor. I would say if you're going to use this truck, go ahead and get like a 50-something turn crawler motor. I guess the real test here is to see how much of a Bruiser clone this is. Let's see here. Wow. There it is. Drops right on. Sorry guys, I really wanted to report back to you and say this was a giant pile of trash. And unfortunately, I have to report back and say that it has its flaws. There's not many of them. And for that price, Tamiya has a problem on their hands. The Tamiya Bruiser is 1,000,000 years old. And yet, Tamiya has decided to re-release it, which is great. They've decided to re-release the Mountaineer, which is great. All the while, other companies like RC 4-wheel drive, like Traxxas, like Vitara, like companies I've never heard of before, are coming out with absolute masterpieces of scale, performance, and drivability, not to mention reliability. And what do we get? We get a vehicle from 1984, 85, 86. And Tamiya needs to realize that if they want to stay in the game, they've got to stop with the constant re-releases and maybe think about something new. Remember, Tamiya created the Scalar. They created the stadium trucks, the touring cars, short course trucks. These are all Tamiya original designs. They created these vehicles and everybody else is making lots of money on them. On the Tamiya side, I go to all of these Scalar and crawler events and I'm the only person with a Tamiya there. Hopefully this blatant ripoff of a beloved Tamiya product will result in Tamiya stopping doing the exact same thing and making something that's going to blow everybody out of the water. We'll do a driving episode later as well. It's dark out right now and I'm cold, so that's not gonna happen just yet, but I hope I've provided you with some information on this truck. If anybody else has one of these, please let me know what your experiences are, what your beliefs. I've already heard that the electronics are no good, but everybody seems to say that the chassis are absolutely wonderful. So folks, stay tuned. I would love to hear what your thoughts are on this intellectual property theft, if that is in fact what it is, how Tamiya should handle this, and why you think Tamiya has not dove into this massive scaler and crawler phase that we're all going through in the RC car industry. Folks, thank you very much for watching. We will see a lot more of this truck, but more importantly, we'll see a lot more of my poor Bruiser. You can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Ampro Engineering on both. And remember to check out the band Blue Pinto, who graciously allows me to use their songs in my videos, and the link to their Facebook page is in the end credits. Thank you all so much, and we'll see you next time.